So with the integument of birds, the main feature you're going to see is going to be the feathers. But not all feathers are the same. They not all have the same function, and so they're going to have a lot of differences depending on whether they're in the wings, in the tail, or part of the body as part of the down feathers. But first, let's go ahead and look at one of the stereotypical feathers. You're going to notice that you have a long, hollow point. So starting at the base, this is where all of the parts of the feather are going to join to. This right here, right at the tip, that's going to embed itself into the body of the bird, into the dermis of the bird, that's your quill. The shaft of all this is going to be called the rachis. So the quill and the rachis make up the bulk of the body of that feather. On each side of that rachis, in the middle part of the shaft, you're going to notice that you have these extended points of the feather. These are going to be the veins. And you can see them, separate them out, that they have lots of parts to them. Just like you have individual hairs on your body, you have individual veins on each part of these feathers. Other thing to know about the feathers is that they kind of act like barbed zippers. You see, if they're moved in one direction, they kind of hook together like different types of Velcro hooks. But if you go the opposite direction, then they're going to separate, and those hooklets or those latchings go in the opposite direction. So in that way, it smooths them out, and that way they unhook. So there's three types of feathers that we want to talk about. Some that are in the wing, some that are in the tail, and some in the body. So first off, the ones you're seeing here, all of these are going to be your wing feathers. Some of the things to notice about all of these ones is going to be the asymmetry of the veins. So one side is going to be more prominent than the other. So these are what's going to be found in any type of bird wing, whether that be anything from bald eagle to the pigeons that we have outside the building. You're going to notice that asymmetry. They're going to be longer than the other ones. The other type of feathers are going to be in the tail. So this is an example of a tail feather. The way you kind of notice that it is going to have a little bit more of some down portions to it, but the veins themselves are going to be symmetrical. You're going to have equal parts on either side. And these are going to be found in most of your different species that fly in the tail. So wing, asymmetrical, tail, symmetrical. All of these together are the flight feathers. So some of this one's called a contour flight feather. These are the wing flight feathers. They're involved with allowing the bird to take off. The other feathers that you're seeing here, the scattered throughout all of this rest of this table, are going to be your down feathers. So especially these ones, these you're seeing here are going to be the ones that make up the insulation for the bird. So these are all the down feathers. This is a small one for a pigeon, and you can kind of see that they had short rachises all throughout it, but they're going to have a nice light quality to them. So just like you have the down feather pillows, this is what they're made of. They're soft, they're not sharp like the wing or contours, and that's what's going to allow the bird to have its insulation and allow it to regulate its temperature in that way. The other thing to be aware of with all of these is that just like you need to have oil in your hair for lubrication, all of these feathers need to be oiled. So there's going to be specific glands on the birds that allow them to be slickened and allow them to prevent grouping together if they get wet. So like in case of a lot of ducks and waterfowl, they have to continually have that oily secretion on these feathers to keep them waterproof. So those are the basic types of feathers. So once again, on your feather, quill, rachis, vein, either side. This on each asymmetrical is going to be your wing flight feather. The tail feather or the contour feather, symmetrical on either side with the veins, rachis, quill, and all of these small ones are going to be your down feathers, very soft. All right. Thank you. So with the integument of a lot of reptiles such as snakes, they're going to be able to have their scales, meaning the portion that allows them to sense, and they're part of the integument. That outer course is going to be their scales. And instead of us, which shed our outer layer of our epidermis in flakes, reptiles such as snakes, they shed off the entire length of the skin once they outgrow it. They don't flake off like alligators or humans. Instead, they're going to shed and molt the entire skin and replace it with new ones. As you look at this version of this black snake, and you see just how intimately involved that corneum was. For example, here's your mouth, nose. This is where the eyes were. So it was very much intimately involved with that snake. So what's making up that integument is going to be the epidermis. The outermost layer of the epidermis in mammals and snakes is the stratum corneum. So the stratum corneum, after it gets so thick, the snake needs to grow, and so it's going to shed that entire layer of that stratum corneum. The lower layer grows. There is going to be some white blood cell separation as they liquefy the portion between the old epidermis and the new epidermis, and then that's able to push its way out of that integument. So it's not like fish scales that are going to be from the dermis origin. These are going to be from the stratum corneum of the epidermis.